contradicting Netanyahu's claims that Hamas had popped up from tunnels. After Netanyahu said he was blocking aid from entering Gaza in response and unleashed a campaign, the administration conveyed to Israel that they know what happened. Netanyahu then announced he would reopen the crossings in a few hours. So they tried to do the classic, like, oh, Hamas militants or whatever are responsible for our big, beautiful boys, our big, beautiful genocidal army occupational soldiers being. Let's get to Trump and specifically the Gaza ceasefire that is falling apart due to Israel's campaigns.
There were serious threats to the fragile ceasefire in Gaza over the weekend. Israel struck multiple targets inside Gaza after a deadly attack on Israeli soldiers, which Hamas claims it was not involved in. We're also learning more about the ceasefire deal from an exclusive 60 Minutes interview that aired last night. We'll have more on that conversation.
Yeah, we're going to be watching that 60 Minutes interview. Shouts out to Barry Weiss once again, doing propaganda for the admin and doing propaganda for Israel in general. But that 60 Minutes interview seemingly was enlightening about like how there is disagreements between the American envoys and Israel or whatever. But like, I'll go through it. I've seen bits and pieces.
In just a second. But first, let's go now to Deborah Patta in East Jerusalem for the latest. Deborah, good morning to you.
Good morning. The skies over Gaza are quiet today after the ceasefire faced really its gravest test yet, with Hamas and Israel accusing each other of violations. Both sides have now recommitted to the peace process. War was back in Gaza this weekend. 45 Palestinians were in Israeli strikes, say local health officials, and 2 soldiers, say the Israel Defense Forces, when Hamas opened fire using an RPG. As mediators raced to get the ceasefire back on track, President Trump had this to say.
It's going to be handled toughly but properly.
Is the ceasefire still in place?
Yeah, yes.
Families had come out to enjoy a quiet moment at the seaside cafe when an Israeli strike shattered the peace, and the blood-soaked scenes they thought were a thing of the past had returned. We were drinking tea, said Salih Salman, and suddenly people were being... Once again, hospitals filled up with dozens of injured from multiple Israeli strikes. The IDF said they were thwarting ceasefire violations by Hamas and provided this footage they say shows armed Hamas fighters moving towards Israeli troops. In central Gaza, it was a media center that was a cameraman and an engineer and injuring 3 others. We're all journalists here, said Ajeb Mohammed. No one else can even enter here. Over 220 media workers have been in Gaza, according to Reporters Without Borders. And over the weekend, an Israeli official said aid would be suspended, but today we're hearing that won't be the case, and I imagine it's going to be a key issue as top U.S. negotiators try to keep this peace process on track. Tony?
Deborah Patta for us in East Jerusalem. Deborah, thank you very much.
They thought the war was over, that they might be able to pick up the debris of their lives and start again. Then yesterday, after 2 Israeli soldiers were in an apparent shooting incident, an Israeli airstrike hit a camp for the displaced in Nuseirat. Several people, including Anwar Miqdad's wife.
We are a defenseless people. They said there was a truce, that we were included in it, that this was a safe area. But this enemy has no commitment. You cannot hold this army to anything.
Today, Israel was demarcating the yellow line that divides the area their troops control from the rest of Gaza. Israel said it militants in the vicinity this morning, but civilians have also been shot while crossing.
We've still had in casualties directly related to the war, mainly families trying to return home and crossing this imaginary yellow line. Most people don't know where this line is. They have no access to the internet. They're going home to see what remains of their home, collect some of their belongings, and then they're attacked by the Israeli forces.
The Israeli Prime Minister was speaking at the Knesset today. He's under intense US pressure to maintain the ceasefire, even though the harsh public talk is all directed towards Hamas.
We made a deal with Hamas that, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and
So what took place is apparently an explosion in Rafah took place, and they claimed that it was actually Hamas militants, that like Israeli soldiers or something. But soon after the explosion in Rafah, I'm told by a source familiar, the White House and Pentagon knew that the incident was caused by an Israeli settler bulldozer running over unexploded ordnance, contradicting Netanyahu's claims that Hamas had popped up from tunnels. After Netanyahu said he was blocking aid from entering Gaza in response and unleashed a campaign, the administration conveyed to Israel that they know what happened. Netanyahu then announced he would reopen the crossings in a few hours. So they tried to do the classic, like, oh, Hamas militants or whatever are responsible for our big, beautiful boys, our big, beautiful genocidal army occupational soldiers being, okay? And they released a video with the drone footage that you saw. And the video drone footage that they actually saw contradicted exactly what was going on, for the record. I think they just used like a video from a different drone footage. But the American government knew exactly what had taken place, and they very quickly released information. Look, Pentagon quickly came to the same conclusions as Yunus. According to reporter Yunus Taravi, the incident in Rafah was not a Hamas attack, but rather a bulldozer operated by a settler company ran over some sort of explosive device or unexploded ordnance. By dropping countless megatons of in Gaza, Israel has rendered it very dangerous terrain for demolition crews. Okay? Israel, while it was trying to do propaganda, okay, you literally had senior administration officials telling Kurt Mills of the American Conservative magazine and numerous other places, Hamas did nothing. Israeli tank hit an unexploded IED that has probably been there for months. But it was enough for Israel to turn around and unleash fury upon the civilian population of Palestinians once again. To accuse Hamas of every time the demolition crew blows itself up if a ceasefire violation is the height of irony. The solution to this is to reach a genuine truce and remove unexploded ordnance systematically. Yeah. But in Israeli society, it seems, in Israeli media, they're still describing it as two terrorists emerged from a tunnel and fired an anti-tank missile. Now remember, Israel has already been violating the ceasefire. This is not the first time. This is not the first time they violated the ceasefire, and it probably won't be the last. Because Israel does not actually want a ceasefire. They want to continue the genocide. That's it. This campaign, I believe, was like the 67th violation of the ceasefire since the ceasefire began. Israel has almost 100 Palestinians since the ceasefire began. It's ridiculous.
We're going to eradicate them if we have to.
Thank you.
The US president has dispatched to Israel a delegation led by his negotiator Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner to show support and tell Israel that the president wants this ceasefire to stick.
Nice to see you.
His envoy on religious freedom met a released hostage in Tel Aviv today and stressed the US commitment to the 20-point Gaza peace plan.
I think the other aspect that President Trump has been so smart with his team is incorporating other countries to be part of this process to resolve or have some backup to continue to put pressure on Hamas to do the right thing here.
And pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu as well?
Oh yes. Well, President Trump doesn't mince words with anyone. If he has something to say, he will say it.
Today, the body of Bipin Joshi, a Nepalese student who was kidnapped by Hamas on October the 7th, was returned to Kathmandu. Those on the Israeli left say President Trump could have saved the hostages and stopped the war much sooner.
It is like pushing someone from the top of the stairs, running rapidly downstairs to catch the one and to say that you saved him. That's exactly what happened. Let's not forget that Trump and his administration were fully complicit since March. They could save thousands of Palestinian lives and who knows how many hostages and Israeli soldiers who were sacrificed by Netanyahu.
In Gaza, as they bury more bodies and grieve again, they pray that it's really over this time.
The things, but I'm not going to talk about that now. Yeah, please go.
It blows my mind that there are in America a whole ass separate country that are getting outflanked by an anti-Zionist Jewish Israeli left politician in the Knesset. There are Democrats that are getting outflanked by him. It is crazy, dude. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Even when he talks about the Israeli hostages or the Israeli captives, he literally says the Palestinians first He says, who knows how many countless lives of Palestinians would have been saved, and even potentially the Israeli captives as well. It's crazy.
Mr. President, you just alluded to the violence in the Middle East. What steps is the administration taking to maintain the ceasefire?
Well, a lot of steps, and right now it's in the hands of others. You know, we have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have a peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that, you know, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that. So they went in, and I don't believe it was the leadership, but they had some rebellion in there among themselves, and some people, you know, a lot of people. But this is a violent group. You know, you probably noticed over the last 100 years, this is a very violent group of people. And they...
The fuck? Hamas has been a political party since 1988, brother. What are you talking about? You know what he's talking about. I think we all know what he's talking about when he says they're a violent people.
He got very rambunctious, and they did things that they shouldn't be doing. And if they keep doing it, then we're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately.
Yeah, just following up on that question, when you say we are going to eradicate Hamas, who is we? Does that include American boots on the ground?
No, it won't be on the ground at all. We don't need to, because we have many countries, as you know, signed on to this deal. The way I view it, 59 countries, and unanimous. There's never been, nobody ever believed this. Countries that 4 months ago didn't like each other, and now they're all aligned together. I mean, we've had countries calling me when they saw something with Hamas, saying we'd love to go in and take care of the situation ourselves. In addition, you have...
Yeah, who? Yeah, who? Which military is going to militarily invade Gaza? After seeing what happened with the Israeli Air Force and with the Israeli Israeli occupational forces broadly, who the f is going to want that smoke, dude?
Israel would go in.
UAE, they would do it. They would get destroyed. What are you talking about? These Gulf nation states don't have like robust military forces, and they have like these countries are very small. I think a lot of people don't understand how fucking tiny these countries are, the Gulf states, like, or at least the specific like Arabs living in the UAE, the number of people that are like fully fledged citizens that make up the military. They're not gonna risk their lives, dude. What are you kidding me?
In 2 minutes, if I asked them to go in, I could tell them, go in and take care of it. But right now, we haven't said that. We're going to give it a little chance, and hopefully there will be a little less violence. But right now, you know, they're violent people. Hamas has been very violent, but they don't have the backing of Iran anymore. They don't have the backing of really anybody anymore. They have to be good. And if they're not good, they'll be eradicated.
Yeah, UAE has like 200,000 citizens. They're oil baron Nepo babies. These people don't fight. Like Jeremy Scale talked about this on the show with me, and he talked about it on Chapo too. You think those motherfuckers who have a lot to lose, who actually have like so much to lose, you think they're gonna put their lives on the line to go inside of fucking Hamas tunnels? What are you, delusional? Yeah, okay, sure, bud. No, they're gonna fucking hire mercenaries at most to do that job, and I'm not even entirely sure they would. But like, how are they gonna move this deal across the finish line with any kind of like military pressure beyond what Israel's been doing already, which is unlimited genocide, which has become too costly politically to maintain and continue. Hence why we are even discussing alternative measures here. Yeah, UAE is about the size of Maine with a population of New Jersey. 89% of the 10 million are immigrants.
Speaking of peace, we've got an extended look now at a 60 Minutes interview with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The U.S. Special Envoy is playing a huge role in the Gaza peace talks. President Trump broke with diplomatic protocol and gave them permission to negotiate directly with Hamas. Did it work? Well, in that exclusive interview, correspondent Leslie Stahl asked Kushner how they made the deal happen.
I need to know if you did some bare knuckle stuff. You know, I think of the real estate negotiation as hard-nosed, get your dukes up.
There were a couple intense moments that we had, but What led to this was really the trust that we were able to build. And I was trained in foreign policy really in President Trump's first term by seeing an outsider president come into Washington with a different school of foreign policy than had been brought in place for the 20 or 30 years prior. And his foreign policy was really about pragmatic realism, right? Taking pragmatic stances, trying to use strength to avoid wars, and figuring out how to make deals, not lecture the world. And so the way that...
Wait, what does that mean? Make deals?
It's so funny that he is on paper describing exactly what Chinese foreign policy is. Like what he just described is verbatim how China operates. And we know that it is very different than how America operates. So it's an abject lie when he says like, this is our foreign policy. Yeah, dude, you were really trade maxing by moving the fucking embassy to Jerusalem, dude. That was incredible deal making right there. Giving the longest leash to Israel that it never had in even previous pro-Israel administrations that greatly escalated the pressure that Palestinians were experiencing by this belligerent apartheid state, which led to October 7th. It's so fucking stupid.
And not lecture the world.
Focus on interests over values sometimes and figure out where do we have joint interests with other countries and pursue those joint interests. And then where you have differences on interests or values, discuss those privately and try to find ways to get it to the best place possible.
This morning, both those men are back in Israel to work on the next steps in this truce. Witkoff also told 60 Minutes he's working to end Russia's war in Ukraine, saying peace is, quote, infectious. You can and should watch the full extended interview at 60minutesovertime.com.
Fans of the Israeli football team Maccabi Tel Aviv.
All right, before the Maccabi Tel Aviv one, I need to see, do we have the OG? Do we have the full video? Is it out yet?
To find out.
Can someone link me the OG video? Because I need to see the whole thing. Because it is spectacular. But here's one piece of it that was really fucked up.
You decide to go to Gaza. And what did you see?
It looked almost like a nuclear bomb.
For the record, it wasn't just one nuclear bomb. It is the equivalent of 13 nuclear bombs that have been deployed